and welcome to the SBN Newscast with your hosts, Scot and Kendra. Earlier this week, we hosted our monthly Scottish Business Showcase, which kicked off with a masterclass interview hosted by Fraser Allen with the remarkable Dr. Marie Macklin, founder and executive chair of the Halo Urban Regeneration Company. The podcast will soon be added to our collection of over 60 podcasts featuring the voices of influential business leaders in the Scottish ecosystem. So it'll be available soon, so watch the space and tune in. On Tuesday, we also heard from our speakers for the evening who shared their ask with our diaspora community. This month, we welcomed Fiona McKinnon, CEO and co-founder of The Moment Company, Graham Kerr, co-founder of Scots of the World, and Colin McMillan, program manager at First Port. They all run fantastic companies and great initiatives, so give them a look. Our next Scottish Business Showcase is on Tuesday, the 18th of May. These are members only events, but if you're watching this and feel that you could potentially benefit from being a member, and we'd like to firstly attend one of our events to get a feel of what we deliver and the community, drop us a line and we can give you a guest invite to come along to one of our events for the evening.
Yeah, it was a great event on Tuesday, actually. It was really some exciting speakers, and that masterclass is going to be great. So keep an eye out for that next week in the podcast. But before we go on to our guest today, I just want to give a rundown of the news and events in the last couple of weeks. There was a flood of messages last week for Earth Day from the Net Zero Scot community, as they all shared words on how that we can all work together to make the world a better place, as we all need. We also had some very exciting announcements as we welcomed 4 new ambassadors from the US last week. Very warm welcome to Alec Brazier from San Francisco, Sabine Clark from Salt Lake City, Eric McAleer in Baltimore, and Adam Drufkin, Raleigh, North Carolina. There were a couple of articles in the Daily Business as well. Russell explored the idea of how Scotland could become the IT home working hub, as well as how sharing your ideas and your passion can help you achieve your goals. There was also plenty of members news. Think Different Events announced their role in hosting a physical conference for the allied health professionals in October. That'll be exciting. Screen Facilities Scotland as well. They published an incredible short film called Here For You, which showcases some of Scotland's homegrown talent in this global industry. The short film features a bloody skirmish between a group of professionals battling, a restaging of the horrific execution of Mary Queen of Scots, shirtless kiltsmen racing through the forest, a Highland cow called Malia, and music composed by Francis MacDonald. SBN were also fortunate enough to be present at some history last week. The James Hutton Institute in Dundee have officially partnered with Utah State University to promote the cooperation in agriculture and environmental research with a strong focus on addressing the problems that come through climate change. There was some more SBN programming that you might have seen. The latest episode of the SBN podcast went live last week, where our main host was on the hot seat. Fraser Allen took some time reflecting on some of the 60 plus episodes he's recorded so far with Scottish business leaders, sport leaders, community leaders, and cultural leaders. And he shared some of the key insights he's learned from almost 3 years of the podcast, I think. Andrew Morrison was back as well with his LinkedIn Live. Andrew spoke to James Bernard, who's our SBN ambassador out in Amsterdam, also got a very rich and long career in Dubai in the Middle East. You can find all that in Andrew's LinkedIn page. We'll also put a link in the description of this video. And as Kendra mentioned, we brought the community together on Tuesday to hear from 3 more ambitious speakers. There was some exciting news from our friends at STV, but rather than me tell you, why don't we let our first guest?
We're delighted to welcome Danielle Kelly, Director of Strategy and Sales at STV. Hello, Danielle.
Morning, Kendra. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, very well. The sun's almost shining, so yeah, feeling good.
I know I'm actually happy that the sun's actually made an appearance after this week filled with rain, so maybe we will get out into the garden this weekend, so let's hope. So, Danielle, do you want to start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about the work you do with Scottish businesses at STV?
Yes, of course. So I'm Danielle Kelly, and as Kendra said, I look after strategy and sales at STV, and that involves working with all kinds of different businesses. So we work from independent startups right through to kind of multinational brands. And I would say that's probably the thing I enjoy most about my job. And if anyone's, we've done a few of these before now, but I'm really passionate about finding out, what makes a business tick, how we can really support businesses through great marketing. We're specialists in marketing, communications, getting your message in front of the right person, but really getting under the bonnet of a business and understanding who do you want to speak to, who's your target audience, what do you want to achieve. That's what our team really specialise in. A few years ago, we launched our growth fund, and I spent a lot of time working with businesses on that. We've done over 500 deals and 200 brand new, never used TV before businesses. So it's fascinating to really see businesses on that growth trajectory. And what we found really is the benefits of getting your message out there can really drive growth in a very meaningful way for businesses. So I find that really exciting. We work with a lot of partners, and when we come on to that a little bit later, but actually seeing the difference that it can make to business in terms of turnover, in terms of profit. Over half of our members have seen an increase in profit as a result directly of the campaign, and actually 75% of those is over 50% or more. So it's really very exciting to see the impact that basically good marketing can make on a brand.
Yeah, those are great stats around the impact there. So much for people to take as a takeaway. You've joined us on the show before as well to discuss the STV Growth Academy. So we'll kind of link viewers to that, and we'll make the link available if people want to find out more information. But today you're here to tell us a little bit more about a new initiative that you've launched.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of expanding on our growth fund, we've actually launched a series of gifted memberships. So what that means is basically we're giving away £100,000 of free airtime. So you join the growth fund for free, for no cost to the business. And we're really looking for businesses who are focused on the diversity and inclusion, who want to be really representative on screen, who are driving inclusive growth in their business. And that might be in terms of what you want to portray in your advertising campaign. It might be your business culture. It may be that you're a founder yourself from an underrepresented group. And we're really asking people, nominate yourself, nominate a brilliant business you know. We're going to be giving away 4 £25,000 campaigns, which basically will give you reach within your key area. STV can be targeted geographically, so you can do East, West, Aberdeen, Dundee, so we can work with a business to really hone and understand what it is they want to achieve. We've got an amazing panel, and I'm so excited about the panel, who are going to be going through everyone who's interested in making that final decision. So we've got Femi from STV, who's our D&I advisor. We've got Barrington from Two Gallus. Barrington's a creative expert and runs a creative agency. So he'll be looking at the nominations from a creative perspective in terms of what they want to portray on screen. We've got Lee from John Doe, and she's looking at it from a PR and comms. So Lee's the founder of John Doe Agency, and really looking at that communications aspect and how you put across your business. And finally, we've got Evelyn, who's the CEO at Scottish Edge. We work closely with Scottish Edge in a partnership capacity. Obviously, fantastic experience in different kind of business funding. So Evelyn will be on hand from that kind of business perspective to have a look at what the people nominated want to do. So we're hugely excited. The nominations are open until the 14th of May. So a few weeks left to get those in. But we really are inviting as many businesses as possible to get in touch. These are free gifted campaigns. It's really easy, to get involved. We've made it very straightforward. There's loads of information on our STV Growth Fund website, which is stvgrowthfund.tv, and you can find out all the details there. You really just need to drop us a line to say, I'm interested, or I'm interested in nominating this other business. We'll get in touch, have a little chat with you, and it's as straightforward as that, really. There'll be an opportunity to meet with our panel in June for those people that go through to the final. But it's very informal, very approachable. That's how we like to be. We don't want to put up any barriers for people to get involved. So yeah, so we come forward, let us know if you're interested. We really want to try and get a really good representation of all the amazing businesses that are out there. So you could be starting up, you could be scaling up, as long as you're focused on inclusive growth, and then this could be the opportunity for you, really.
Amazing. Well, I think of a few businesses within the network that would be fantastic for that. So we'll maybe have to do some nominations and make sure that we spread the word to get people reaching out to you before the 14th of May. So make sure that's in your diary.
Absolutely.
Everyone. But also, you've got such a fantastic panel of experts there that I'm sure people will want to get in front of. And for people, Danielle, that are just exploring advertising and at that initial stage where they're trying to work out how they can best approach advertising, you do a lot of events that can help people with the understanding of how to promote themselves and build presence both at home and internationally. So what events are coming up where people can engage with you and your team?
Yeah, so we do a series of events that we host ourselves called STV Growth Academy, and we just had an event yesterday all about the Growth Fund. Our next one is the 27th of May, and we're going to do a focus on sustainability. Earlier, probably about 6 weeks ago, earlier this year, we launched our new STV Zero approach, and it's sort of STV's commitment to what we're doing to be more sustainable as a business, including our commitment to be net zero by 2030. There's lots of plans in place, and maybe come back and talk about that separately, Kendra. But our next Growth Academy is really about what does sustainability mean for businesses across the board. So you could be a small business, you could be a large PLC, but actually there's lots of small things that we can all do to contribute towards that. And the really interesting part, we've done quite a lot of research in terms of consumer attitudes, and what we're seeing from Scots. They're more likely to purchase a product if it's got sustainable credentials. They're more likely to recommend it. They think more favourably on the brand. So there's lots of really interesting sort of insights coming through that can help you drive your growth by including some of those considerations. So that's going to be our focus at the end of May on the 27th. And again, all the details are on our website, including how you can sign up. But we also like to partner with lots of businesses like yourselves at Scottish Business Network. We've got a couple of really fantastic events coming up. So the 19th and 20th of May is the Impact Summit, which I know some of your network will know well, run by the fabulous team at Future X. We've taken part in the Impact Summit for a number of years, and we've got a couple of events that we're doing across those 2 days, so you can see us there. And we're also working closely with Scottish Edge at the moment, so their final is coming up, and the STV Growth Edge Award will be awarded there to a business who's been in that round 17 of the competition. So we have lots of a very busy events calendar coming up. Again, that's all listed online. So if there's anything anyone wants to find out about, they can pop on there and see it, or equally, drop us a line directly. If we don't have something coming up that you think is right for you, then we're very happy to have a chat, have a Zoom, or maybe even have a coffee.
Amazing. Well, we'll do our bit to share those events with our network as well. So thanks for joining us, Danielle, and it's a delight to have you on the show again. And I'm sure you'll be back to tell us about all the other initiatives. And it's great to partner with STV to bring further value to our membership and give them further growth opportunities as well. So thanks for joining us today, Danielle.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me, and have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
I am delighted to welcome our next guest on the newscast, Daniel Ritchie. Daniel, how are you?
I'm good. Scott, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for joining us. Speaking of joining us, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from a town just outside Peruíbe, just outside São Paulo city. It's a town called Peruíbe, and it's a coastal city, about an hour's drive from São Paulo, Brazil.
Wow. So sunny beaches all around, I imagine.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
So before we get started, I wonder if you could just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about how you found yourself as a Scot all the way out in Brazil.
Okay, so name is obviously Danny Ritchie, Daniel. Born in Glasgow, brought up in Glasgow, studied in Glasgow University. Spent some time in London. Met my wife in 1987, who happened to be Brazilian and from São Paulo, and we became friends and got married in 1989. Initially worked in a bank, corporate finance, mainly providing funds for building office blocks or, factories, whatever. Later moved to Community Scotland to work in private finance. And then in my early 30s, I started to work off my own bat, and I started a consultancy called Hill and Richie Consultants, which still continues in more or less the same form until today. So worked in private finance throughout the 90s, early 2000s. In 2003, my wife was diagnosed with some serious illnesses, and we felt it was safer to move to Brazil to be with her family. And lo and behold, everything turned out okay, and my wife recovered well. Initially, I began to work after passing on my consultancy to my partners, I started to work for the UK consulate in São Paulo. Yeah. And I worked in inward investment, engaging with Brazilian companies that needed help to start up in the UK, and basically just building relationships. I also worked for One Northeast, the development agency in Newcastle. Again, same role, inward investment, checking out Brazilian companies, making connections. Parallel to all this, I started a company with my wife. We started to make Caramel Shortcake, and that grew wings and started to grow. We had some breaks selling to companies like Nestle's and Nespresso. They would put it onto their menus, and we also started to sell to the largest supermarket chain in Brazil called Grupo Pão de Açúcar. It's owned by a French company. Well, I can never remember the name of the French company, but anyway, Grupo Pão de Açúcar, one of the biggest supermarket chains in Brazil all over, and they would put it into their cafeterias. I think they put it into about 90 of their shops, and that relationship continued for almost 10 years. Eventually it wound down because it was just too much for us, and we started to concentrate on our smaller clients, more profit, easier to deal with, whatever. Although we can still sell to Grupo Pão de Açúcar, it's still a relationship that bubbles in the background. Pandemic brought most things crashing to a halt. However, because we had luckily focused on our smaller clients, we've kept rolling along. I'm not so involved on a day-to-day basis anymore. One of my sons takes care of it, and although it's let's not exaggerate. It's quite a small company. I don't have big factories or anything like that, but we do well. We sell shortbread also, which is very popular. Caramel Shortcake, very popular. Parallel to this, I do some English classes, and recently I've begun business coaching, which is good fun for companies in São Paulo, very large companies actually in Brazil, in banking, fintech, gas. So I do a variety of things. But basically, the reason we're here is because of, first of all, my wife is Brazilian, and second, because there were life circumstances that drove us here. So I hope that makes sense, Scott.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I'm delighted to hear that what was maybe not ideal situation moving back to Brazil has blossomed into sort of happy families out there. I suppose my only key question is, how does the caramel and chocolate last in the Brazilian heat?
Oh, well, I could tell you that, Scott, but I would have to kill you afterwards. Well, it's a mixture of, you use pure chocolate and then you use a more how can I say, a less sensitive chocolate. It's a mix, and well, in Brazil, refrigeration is key because things go off very, very fast. So we deliver it to people. They have to take care of it, and they do. We have a shelf life of 1 month with the chocolate, and it seems to work okay. But we're very careful to who we sell to. Also, we're selling a lot directly to the consumer nowadays. So right. We're using social media to advertise, and that was, pandemic is terrible, but that has been one of the positive aspects. It kind of pushed us into a different realm. Before, we always sold through, sold it to small coffee chains or emporiums and so on, because they almost died a death, and they're just coming back to life now. We had to go straight to the consumer, and so which has kind of opened up our horizons a lot. We sell all over Brazil. We send it by post to God knows where, everywhere, and they have a very good postal system in Brazil. That's another thing. So if you pack up your box well, they take care of it and deliver it. So it works well. Yes.
Yeah, so you've really got a reach.
A lot of work, but it works well.
Yeah, and it's good that you've really got a reach around what is a truly enormous country.
Enormous.
So I think I want to touch a little bit on that, actually, because I think it's probably a market that a lot of people in Scotland and a lot of SBN members don't know a lot about. And I was wondering if you could shed some light on some of the key things in the Brazilian market. I mean, I know size is the first thing that comes to my mind. But...
Well, yes, you have to remember size and infrastructure. Are two of the biggest challenges. And market size also. So although it's a big country, the population is 210 million, but Brazil is bigger than Western Europe, so it tends to be fairly spread out. So sometimes trying to do a whole country strategy won't really work, because the main conurbations are São Paulo city, which is about 25 million once you take in the whole of the city of São Paulo. The state of São Paulo, which has 35 million inhabitants, and then you have big cities there like Campinas, Sorocaba, and it makes up a kind of golden triangle. So you got São Paulo, Santos, Sorocaba, Campinas. That's where most of what happens in Brazil happens there. Then you have the south of Brazil, which is more industrial. You have like the textile industries, the shoe industry, metal bashing industries. In São Paulo also we have Embraer, an airline company building aeroplanes. Some tech up in the north of Brazil, up in Recife. You've got some hubs up there into tech. But really, and then you obviously have Rio de Janeiro, which is kind of venture capital, old center of government, and then Brasilia, which is where the capital of Brazil is. But that's mainly a political city, politicians and so on, like Washington, I suppose. If I was starting again, or if I was coming as new, I would focus entirely on São Paulo, because you have everything there. You have industry, you have tech, you have retail, you have agro business, agro tech, you have government tech. That's where anything that happens in Brazil happens first in São Paulo. So and it's a huge market.
Well, yeah, 35 odd million people, as you mentioned, and it's those sort of insights that become really valuable for us, because you're our newly appointed SBN Ambassador.
Yes, I know.
You're the first. Yeah, that makes two in all of South America now, so we're not exactly widespread, but it's got some trusted feet on the ground. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about why you wanted to sort of become part of the sort of global team, and a little bit about how you think you can help any businesses looking to talk to people in Brazil.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was such an honor to be asked to be the ambassador here. It's something that I never in my life expected would happen, something like that. So it's really a great honor. And, I really do believe that Brazil and Scotland could do some great business together, not just business. There's tourism also. There's so much to offer, just in the space of São Paulo, because São Paulo has beaches, it has deserted beaches, it has the largest piece of existing Atlantic forest, original Atlantic forest on its doorstep. So although it is built up into a big industrial center, it also retains a lot of its natural resources, its natural beauty, and they're well protected. Also, we still have the indigenous populations here and so on. But so, like I said, I feel that there is so much business that could be done between Scotland and Brazil, and there already is. Whiskey is a huge seller in São Paulo. You know, I don't know if I mentioned this before in a couple of the talks I've already had. Many restaurants in São Paulo have the whiskey clubs. So, you know, there'll be a wall dedicated with small cupboards with names on it, like Dr. Mendes, who will buy his bottle of whiskey, special, Macallan or whatever, and then will take it and put it in his box. And when he goes to the restaurant, he has his key and he takes out his whiskey.
Oh wow!
It could be Johnny Walker, it could be Red Label, it could be Black and White, it could be. So already Scotland is doing a fantastic business in that sense with tremendous potential, mainly through Diageo, But I really do feel there's some niche stuff here with given proper marketing and obviously effort. FinTech, the Brazilian banking system is highly developed with lots of niche products and security and money transferring and obviously financial products. But I do believe there must be some sort of match between Scotland and Brazil. I'm already telling some of my contacts about Scotland and the financial industry that we have, and obviously other areas, engineering. But obviously these things take time and effort. But I would like to see that my role is to point people in the right direction. I still maintain my contacts at the UK consulate with UK trade and industry, but I want to focus on Scotland. I'm quite happy to do that, and try and be some sort of a conduit, perhaps. I don't know, or a first port of call.
Yeah, and I think it's just those sort of feet on the ground that could be even just an entry point to businesses, because as you say, country's massive, industry's sort of separate, and even the cities themselves can be quite separated in different culture. So even having that insight before you start, because you could almost be put off by the sheer size of it and think, I'll never understand the market there. And then all of a sudden you've got Daniel sitting there just outside São Paulo ready to tell you how he's selling shortcake already.
Yes, and it works. So it's not...
Perfect.
So well, is that okay?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I just want to say, Daniel, thank you very much for joining us on this week of the Newscast. People can find out how to contact Daniel through LinkedIn. Also, if you're members, he's on the SBN members portal as well as our website. But for now, Daniel, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott, and hello to everyone.
Thanks to our guests today, Danielle and Daniel, for joining us on the show.
Yep, and we're bringing the community together again on May 18th to hear from 3 more speakers as well as an exclusive masterclass. So we hope to see you then. And remember, you can help support Scottish Business Network as we continue to grow and support Scottish businesses and the Scottish diaspora around the world. You can learn more about donating on the SBN website or using the link below.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.